Hey, I'm Peyton Atkins. This is my brother Josh Atkins, and we're going to be talking about the movie we watched this week, The Social Network. So, The Social Network's a movie about Mark Zuckerberg, and he's a creator of Facebook and giant, I don't know, web guy.
Social network.
Yeah, social network. One of the inventors of that, and he kind of formed the internet as we know it today, in a sense.
Sure. Or at least social media.
Yeah. So the movie opens up with Mark talking to his girlfriend. He's only his girlfriend for like the first minute of the movie because she breaks up with him quickly. But immediately from the beginning of the movie, you can tell it moves really fast, just in the way Mark talks, and it's probably it's the intro is a good catalyst to the entire movie, basically, because it all moves so fast.
Yeah, and it's funny, like Trent Reznor's soundtrack with a lot of EDM kind of influence, and some of the scene work, everything almost makes it, I don't want to say an action movie, but it's definitely edited differently than like, I don't know, something like The Big Short or another business movie, which is more or less what it is. So you almost get this like action filming, editing style just off the rip with a conversation.
Yeah.
And it builds even more onto that when he starts inventing social media as revenge for her.
Yeah, no, because right after she breaks up with him, he goes home and he's a big blogger at this time, and he immediately makes hate posts against his girlfriend, and him and his friends develop this kind of like
Hot or not,
rate one girl. There's two pictures of the girls, and they rate them, and this explodes overnight. Just in one night, I think they get 22,000 people on their website, which is kind of unheard of because he's using his blog and this website at the same time. So all the Harvard students.
Not even the Harvard students, because he hacks into the other schools and hacks into Harvard.
Okay.
So it pretty much, like, he shows all these exploits, and basically that he's a super, computer genius pretty much, because he's doing this drunk at 4 a.m.
Yeah, and it's funny whenever, I guess the school's computer analyst or whatever, whenever they're having the talk to him with his college, he kind of just one-ups this old man that's been doing computers all his life, I'm guessing, since he's working for Harvard, and he kind of one-ups him. He's like, I showed a bunch of flaws in your system. And so this actually gets him a lot of recognition in the cyberspace world and just his college in general. And maybe a week or two after, it kind of gets blurry on the time, but the Winklevoss brothers, which are two big athlete rowers in the community, and his name's Max
Max is the actor's name.
Okay, Dash.
Diesva?
Yeah, the guy with the mole on his face.
Divas.
Kind of the three immediate antagonists. They aren't when they introduce them, but they come to Mark with a business plan for kind of a social networking thing for their college, and they called it dating website.
It's a dating website, but the main thing that you get from that is that they want exclusivity, so they want you to have a Harvard email login to be able to use the website.
Because girls want Harvard guys or something like that.
I think he says something along those lines. So Zuckerberg hears that, says he'll work on the deal, and disappears, and creates the Facebook in like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Just, makes the monolith that we all know today. And it's almost, this came out at a time where Facebook was already like as big as you'd think it could be, and I feel like it's become even more rooted in our lives.
And at this point in the movie, he'd seen it before, but I'm kind of just shocked with all the information that's coming over me, and like, it's not until really after I realize that it's going to Mark in these lawsuits that he actually stole the Harvard EDU ideas, or some of them. He at least, told them, oh, we can't do the Harvard EDU project, and kind of blew them off and then used some of their ideas on his website.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the whole...
Pretty much right when the Winklevosses get introduced is around the time we get the flash forward to like current day and the lawsuits and stuff. So it does I will say exposition is a little bit like turbulent. I've seen this like 3 or 4 times now. And so I got all that, but definitely have been in your shoes.
Yeah, it was moving really fast, especially with how witty all the characters are and how fast their talking is, or at least Zuckerberg's talking. It's kind of hard to keep up with them sometimes.
Definitely a movie for shot reverse shot.
Yeah.
Like you get a lot of just like exposition, which is they're beautiful. I think you were talking a little bit about camera millimeters and stuff. Like I know wide angles, but I think you said it's like an 84 millimeter. You see Fincher use a lot.
In that scene where they're doing the rowing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, a lot of regardless, there's a lot of extra wides and there's a lot of just really pretty. Like heavy focused shots, but you'll get that exposition and then you just boom, like straight to face up, shot, reverse shot, and then on to another scene.
Yeah.
And I love the camera work. I'm a big like Fincher nerd. Some people almost joke that his stuff is like too orthodox almost, like it's just perfect all the time.
You can kind of relate it to at least how the shots were fast. I want to say they're quite as fast, but to that 1928 movie, The Passion of Joan of Arc,
there was a lot of reverse
face shots and quick jump arounds. But back to back to the Winklevoss brothers and Mark. One of Mark's best friend throughout the movie that is kind of a plot point, definitely a plot point, is Eduardo. He's kind of the co-creator of Facebook because Mark comes to him one night while they're at a party and he asks him, you do all the business analytics and stuff, I'll do all the cyber stuff, I'll be paid 70, you'll be paid 30.
Yeah.
So
Officer and Chief Financial Officer, CFO.
Okay. And this is the creation of Facebook, basically, or the Facebook at this time. And so then they're getting really successful over the next couple weeks. Bill Gates comes to Harvard and he gives an address to the students and stuff, and they're kind of the big boys on campus now, right? They're
they're creating something, man, that like nobody's really understood yet.
So right around this time, the Winklevoss twins are Winklevoss and a guy with a mole on his face. That's how I'm gonna keep on referring to him. They send a cease and desist letter to him because they're like, hey, those were our ideas and we're not cool with what you did. So this is kind of the first big roadblock they run into, and they kind of get over it pretty easily. I mean, it's until the lawsuits happen later. But
and I'll always mix up twins. But I think Tyler, right?
It's Tyler Cameron and Ty.
Ty is kind of the more hot-headed one.
Yeah.
And he also believes in like Harvard and kind of the gentleman's agreement.
No, that's Cameron.
Is it Cameron? Okay.
Cameron's the one that's like, we need to be a gentleman about this. But then you see he quickly, when they figure out about the handbook, he quickly transitions into, we're going to use these rules to get him kicked out of school.
Yeah, he wants to do it the Harvard way. And they, they talk about the crimson all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like a lot of good buffer between should they have just got off their ass and started doing it, or waiting for it to get bigger, and because of their lack of work, they wait for it to get kind of so big that they can't do anything about it, and over time it expands to what we see in the current day stuff. So where we were, they're expanding, they're growing, and then they end up looking to add Stanford to the list of schools within the Facebook.
And this is where we meet, they branch out to a tech entrepreneur guy, what's his name?
I'm pulling it up.
Played by
Sean Parker, creator of Napster.
Napster, there it is.
I don't know much about him. I'm a little older than you and remember the whole Napster thing. Specifically, I remember Metallica doing a lot of lawsuits, but it was the invention of file sharing, so like what you would know as torrenting and things like that. So you could own an album, download it onto the internet, and then anybody on Napster could use that album. It was essentially a torrenting website. kind of like what he says in the movie, he did destroy the music industry in the way it normally was. You know, we have all this viral marketing because you can kind of steal whatever music you want now.
And it's hard because in the beginning, you know, like that sounds like a pretty cool thing that he made, but at the same time, his character, you can tell he's just kind of a douchey guy, you know.
He is kind of, and I mean, to be fair, like what he did didn't make him a millionaire. Like Napster fell apart really quickly. I don't know how long, 3 years or something was its active lifespan. But what he like really drives home, I feel like, to Mark is that he can make a name for himself and he can make the thing bigger. And he's super charismatic. Mark immediately latches onto this guy.
And we see Eduardo really doesn't want this guy to be a part of the project from their first interaction, actually, because Eduardo has all these questions that the movie definitely tries to make seem confrontational.
Yeah, well, Eduardo mentions his father all the time, and I think he's like, you know, he's at Harvard, so obviously he probably has, you know, very rich and, you know, owner of something father, but it seems like he might even kind of reflect the same way as Cameron in a way. Like he wants to be an honorable businessman, and Sean Parker kind of flies in the face of that, right? Like he made this huge company just to watch it burn, just to, you know, get out before the suits and and declares bankruptcy. He's not like a real businessman, but he's what's now a thing with the internet. So I don't think Eduardo understands the internet. He just helped fund his friend for originally $1,000 and then $18,000 when they get to Stanford and meet Sean Parker and all that.
And then eventually after this, I think this is after Mark moves to California because he's so awed by what's his name?
Sean Parker.
Sean Parker. He's so awed by Sean Parker. This is kind of a dilemma for Eduardo. But eventually, after tugging and all these new not analysts but coders get added to their team, Facebook's growing and they're starting to make they aren't quite making money yet because
Eduardo's in New York looking for ad space. They're just now trying to put the like ad wheels on the ground, and
which is something that they've had conflict over throughout the movie because Mark and other guy, I keep forgetting his name, don't want to add.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do ads, and I think they mentioned at one point that he made a website in high school that was awesome, and then just Microsoft tried to buy it for like $500,000, I think, and he just made it freeware immediately. So you can tell that even though Mark clearly is a millionaire at this point, that in his early days he kind of just liked coding and didn't care where the money came from. So he's just happy to have this creation, like this monolith. Eduardo, once again going back to kind of like the grassroots businessman, wants to make money off of it as soon as possible. It's where the divide between Eduardo and Mark comes is that Sean Parker agrees to grow the business, like make the thing as big as it is before you add ads. And Mark's in California doing that. Eduardo's in New York. And also, looking for ad space while he does whatever summer stuff he did.
Yeah,
he did for
internship.
An internship.
And he quit this internship just to come out to California, and they didn't really expect him there, and you know, it definitely got on Eduardo's nerves, and he's told that if he doesn't pick up with what Mark and I can't remember Sean. If he doesn't keep up with Mark and Sean, then he'll be left behind, and this is kind of a oh crap moment for Eduardo, certainly. And so all this happens, and he goes back to New York.
As soon as he gets back to New York, they are meeting with an angel investor,
and they give him $500,000, I think, for Facebook.
Yeah,
and crazy girlfriend scene happens. That's kind of funny. Too.
While they're doing that, Eduardo is so upset about his visit in California that he cuts them off. So the $18,000 he promised to let them use is gone. And so pretty much, like to move things forward, you know, back towards current day, they as soon as Facebook becomes monetized by that angel investor, they start rolling the ground, you know, start making tons of money. they do another like stock buyout and
Mhm.
essentially liquidate all of Eduardo's stocks. So at this point, the modern day, we haven't talked about like what's happening through the movie in the modern day is the suits between the Winklevosses and Eduardo, and there's an emotional scene in modern day after he's been liquidated. Essentially,
Mhm.
he's like, "You were my only friend."
Yeah.
So to kind of like wrap, we hit all the plot points, but wrap the whole thing up. Mark is kind of just a jerk.
Yeah, because we
has
see
no-
we
yeah.
see in towards the end of the movie, I think it might be the last couple scenes where they're nulling Eduardo out of the company, and they have like one of the higher ups in the company about to tell him that like, hey, this is what you're gonna get paid out, and then you're gonna be out of here.
Mhm.
I'm guessing because he comes out and then he just slams Mark's laptop and destroys it, makes a whole big scene, and this was right at the party of they were about to hit 1 million followers, or not followers, but
subscribers, whatever you do,
subscribers, yeah.
Facebook members.
And the movie's kind of about how their relationship kind of falls apart with this whole business plan, and it kind of makes Mark look like a bad guy in the end. There is that one redeeming scene where with the lawyer, in the
When he
end,
mentions that he wanted to work with Eduardo because it was his friend.
Mhm.
But if you remember, it cuts to Eduardo's seat and he's already gone.
Uh-huh.
And then the lawyer says, your friend's suing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it kind of paints Mark Zuckerberg as a bad guy for sure. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie, and soundtrack was sick, like you were saying.
Yeah, Trent Reznor and
Yeah.
Atticus Ross. Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. They're probably one of my favorite soundtrack
Mhm.
makers, and they make the vibe of the movie so much.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
the fact that they're in it. I've been raving, and he hasn't seen yet. Challengers this
Mhm.
year, another great Trent and Atticus like production. And it's fun to watch them in movies like this because, like I said at the beginning, that EDM isn't something you want to, when you're watching a dialogue heavy, like shot reverse shot movie, you never expect something like that. So it really it adds a totally different taste to a movie that's not what you would expect to have that in it. Fincher, once again, the shot work, that guy is insane,
Mhm. I thought for a movie about, the cyberspace, they really made it epic,
the tone,
Uh-huh.
the ambiance. There's probably the first time you really get like a heavy soundtrack hit is when he starts coding for this thing against his girlfriend. And it's like it's like a sports montage.
It's
it's
crazy.
Yeah, I mean these guys are like drinking beer on the couch and like writing codes and typing on computers.
It actually makes coding look really good. I coded once in like 8th grade and I couldn't stand it, but it actually makes it look like something you want to do.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back and watch Hackers, which is kind of like a laughy 90s movie that's about, how cool coders.
So, the movie moved really fast, but I was definitely entertained with it pretty much every second of the movie.
Yeah.
There wasn't a part where it slowed down. Soundtrack was awesome. It made me relate to these guys that were coders that, I've never done anything like that, but I really enjoyed the movie overall, and I know we didn't quite hit all the plot points, but because of how fast the movie moved and all the things that happened, it's a lot different compared to like The Passion of Joan of Arc.
The last
and
two
the
have been
last
very
two.
linear,
Uh-huh.
and this one is definitely anytime you're working with past and present stuff, it can get tough for sure.
Yeah. Well, I want to appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching. It was definitely a good movie this week, and so thank y'all.
Thank you.